So, welcome back, beekeepers and future beekeepers. First of all, I want to thank you all for subscribing and hitting like and so on and so forth. It's greatly appreciated. And today, what we're going to do is we're going to build what's known as a Queen Acclamation Cage. This is a cage that helps the queen get accepted into the colony. And it's not a real hard project. It's just one you gotta build this little cage, and I'm going to show you how to do it. So let's go ahead and get started. First of all, you want to use 1/8 inch hardware cloth, and that's what we have here today. And you want to make sure it's square because you're going to be measuring off this end and this end. So what we're going to do first is we're going to measure. You can make it just about any size you want, okay? Keep in mind that you want to make it big enough so you can get food in that cage when you press it into the comb. You want to get emerging brood within that cage and open brood. So she can be fed. The new brood, emerging brood, will pretty much call her mom because that's the only queen that those emerging brood will see as they come out of their cell. And then open brood so she can lay eggs. So that you don't want to make it any longer than the frame itself. So there's 8 inches, and obviously this is fine. So we're going to make it 5 by 7 box basically, which is pretty much doable as far as placing it on this frame whichever way you want to put it. So normally you'll have food up top here, and then you'll have some emerging brood and very possible some open brood. So you'll be able to get that 5 by 7 placed here, and sometimes you'll have to place it the other way. So we'll get into more details on that after we build this thing or put it together. So let's go ahead and measure. Now if you're building something 5 by 7, you want it 1 inch tall because you're going to press it down into the hive itself. So you're going to have to add 1 inch for each side. So it's actually going to be 5 plus 2 is going to be 7, and then 7 plus 2 is 9. So you're going to cut out a square that's 7 by 9. So first of all, let's go ahead and measure that and mark that and go from there. So we're just going to go from this edge and make a mark. And we'll come down here and do the same. And we'll go ahead and cut that. Go ahead and connect the dots. This mesh looks pretty straight, but I've seen some of it where the wires inside the mesh, you know, they'll sway one way or the other. So I would cut it out to your marks, not by the lines of the mesh. So we're going to measure. Well, let's go ahead and cut this, and then we'll measure the 7 inch side. And you can actually do this with some scissors, heavy house scissors. So okay, let's set this aside. So these edges are, they can cut you, you know, if you rake across them. So be careful. So that was our 7 side. And now we're going to do a 9, which is your 7 inches plus 2, one for each side. So we're going to measure up 9 inches. So now we're going to connect the dots. There we have it. We're going to go ahead and cut that. So now we have a 7 by 9 piece of hardware mesh or cloth. It's 1/8 inch. Each one of these little squares is supposed to be 1/8. That means the bees can't travel through it. You don't want any bees from the colony to get to the queen yet. So you only want the bees, the attendants that come with the queen, to be in this. So now we're going to measure 1 inch on all sides. Starting from the side, you want to mark 1 inch. Come down here, do it again. Just keep doing it all the way around. And then we'll do the connected dots. This is where you're actually going to bend it in order to make the box. So we've marked it all the way around. We're going to go ahead and connect the dots again. So now you can see that we have 1 inch on each side. So you want to make a cut on each side like that. So that's what we're going to do. And then we're going to fold it around. So only cut up to your 1 inch mark. And then we're going to flip it and do the other side. We're basically making a box out of hardware cloth. And you can do like every other one or something like that. Other people will take and fold all the way around like this, but we're keeping it simple. And then you can take a couple pieces of wood, or a piece of wood, scrap piece of wood like this, and you're just going to bend down at where you marked. Right on that line, nice and sharp. Just use that wood as a guide. Come back around and do the other side. Get it lined up. They make a fancy tool for bending stuff like this and duct work. It's like a big jaw pair of pliers that comes and clamps on that, and you can bend it. It's not worth investing money into something like that, but If you know someone has it, you could borrow it, I reckon. But then you want to come around this side here, using the smaller side of your piece of scrap wood, bending it down, and move it down a little bit so you can get the rest of it. You see our box is coming into shape here, so let's go ahead and do this part here. Then you want to take these pieces here and fold it around like that. Okay, fold it around. And fold it around. So you can take some wire, and you want to make these stay together. Take a little scrap wire, get a longer piece than that, and just loop it. Actually, just poke it through from one side and twist it if you'd like. Now you're wondering why we're doing that. It's not so the bees can't, bend it out themselves. They're not going to do that. What might happen is when you're pressing this in, you inadvertently open it up and you allow a space for the bee to get in or queen to get out, and you don't want that. So you just twist that like that, and you cut off the excess. There you go. But we're going to use a household item here. Regular old paper stapler. They don't always catch. Okay. You probably have to do it several times. Sometimes the staple will hit the metal, and will bend the staple the wrong way and not actually hold. So check it. You just want it so it won't open back up, and not by the bees, by you. So you'll see why in just a moment. So let's staple this one here. So you can put several in there. So you see it's not going to open back up. And what you want to do is you want to make sure that you have food, honey, brood, emerging brood, and open brood cells. So then you would place it on there like this or like this. And you press it into the comb. Okay. Now, after you've figured out where you're going to put it, and you've got it what I would call pre-pressed, you're going to want to put the queen and her attendants in there with it. So, your queen is going to come in something like this with the attendees. So what you want to do, here's another version here, I'll show you both, I'll demonstrate both, is this is where the queen would be, this is where they put the food, fondant or whatever mixture they put in there for them to feed on. But has a little, this type here has a little cap right there. I would suggest popping that open. putting your finger on it, okay? And then you want to do this quickly as you take and you press with your finger still on it. Press this in there onto the comb. It will be stuck, okay? Then you do it like that, okay? So now the attendees are coming out, the queen's coming out, and the other bees are curious, they're looking at her, or so on and so forth, but they can't get to her to kill her, thinking that, you know, she's the second bee or shouldn't be there. So she'll stay in there for a while. Now I'm going to show you how to do the box queen holder. Pretty much the same way. Is you want to remove the cork, put your finger over it, go ahead and press this into the comb, remove your finger, put that down really quick. Now the whole time it's a balancing act, believe me, because you don't want any other bees from the colony to be inside this part here. So what you want to do is make sure, you know, keep an eye on this whole area here, that there's nothing getting in there other than that queen box with the attendees, because you do not want a bee from the colony in there, or several of them. So now you've pressed that down on there, you've got the box in there, one of the two different types. You've taken the cork off. A note about this one here is it comes with a little, in other words, when you pull it off, it will hang like that, and then it will close back up. So you don't want that. So what you want to do is you want to twist it around until it completely comes off, and you put your finger on it, and then you place it in there. One more important thing. Okay, once you've got that far and you've done all this, and so once you've done all that and you've got all this, built your cage and you put the box in there and you got the attendees and the queen's walking around checking things out, you're going to want to put this back into the hive box where you took it out, but you don't want it inadvertently popping open like that and then all of them get out. So it's a safeguard from doing that. You want to rubber band it. Just put a couple of rubber bands on it like that, and then you're going to like that. So there it is, and it's going to stay there for several days. What you want to do to check up on it is you want to see, when you're checking up on her, you want to see the queen walking around on the perimeter, and the other bees will look like they're feeding her. If your bees are really mad at her for some reason, they'll actually try to get in there and get stuck in this. But eventually she'll get acclimated. She'll start laying eggs, which is a good sign that she is acclimated. At that point you can release her. But it's going to take a few days. So I've got other videos showing me releasing the queen from a Queen Acclamation cage. You can watch those. But when you do go to release her, what I've found out is just take a pair of scissors and cut this, instead of, because you're going to have bees all over this. Instead of pulling this off and bees getting all upset, you can actually just cut this, and then you can pull this up. So you've pulled this up, and let's say the queen is stuck on, she's just walking on the inside upside down on this. What you can do is put this back into the brood box and just set this on top until you see her go down. You know, you don't want to do any of this for her to like inadvertently fly away or something like that. You want to just set it just like this. If she's still walking around on the cage itself, you just set it like that on top of the whole thing, and she'll eventually work her way down in there, and she'll start laying eggs, and your hive will be very productive. I want to thank you all for watching this video, and please hit subscribe and like and the bell if you want future notifications, and have a great day. Thank you.